Give it to me. Give it to me. Give it to me. To me, it's all mine. Give me what I want because it's the only way I can be happy. Now. No, I can't be patient. But I want, and I want it right now. I need it right now. I can't survive without it. We as humans can get lost in a whole lot of that kind of me-first behaviour. From when we can really crawl, we run and demand what we want, and if we don't get it, we throw a tantrum. I'm sure we've all seen the children at supermarkets and shops screaming on the supermarket floor. I'm sure Samuel and May have never done that. That was perfect, absolutely perfect. We've all seen that. Mummy, I want this packet of chips or these lollies. It's never the carrots or the broccoli, you notice. And as we grow older, we can still see that behaviour. All that happens is the way that we tend to show it can change. And just like when we're kids, when we do start this behaviour, the last thing we want is someone to come along and telling us that what we're doing is wrong or silly or counterproductive. And this person who gives us this message, who comes along and has to tell us this behaviour is acceptable, what happens to them? Well, I think the phrase, "don't shoot the messenger," is there for a reason. I think about my own mother and father, and when they handled tantrums that my brother and I would throw. We were twins, so we got up to lots of things. You wouldn't see me now and think I could ever throw a tantrum, of course.
Really?
But like any children we could. And I remember Mum telling times in supermarkets where, just always my brother, by the way, be on the floor screaming, and so she'd just leave the trolley, just walk out, take us home, put us in our cots and leave us there until we calmed down. Eventually it became clear that this kind of behaviour wasn't productive, because it wouldn't get us what we wanted. There was a level of behaviour that was tolerated, and a level of behaviour and respect that was acceptable. And that's part of growing up. I think the recognition that in life we can't always get what we want. But then again, we live in a world that tells us that we can. It's our right to get what we want whenever we want it. Isn't that right? Buy today, no more to pay. You want credit? Come this way. We'll give you as much money as you want. You don't have to save for anything anymore. We can get it right now. We don't like people telling us that we have to change. And we see this in the Bible time and time again. If you read through the Old Testament and the prophets, God sent a prophet to spread the word and to tell the people that they need to clean up their act or there will be consequences. However, time and time again, people don't listen to the prophet and rebel and are punished for it. Crops may fail, armies may invade. Then, after a while, people cry out again to God for help, and another prophet is sent and spreads a message that people don't want to accept or hear, and the whole cycle repeats itself. And now we might think that Jesus is the ultimate messenger and the ultimate prophet, the one that everybody will listen to. We just have to look at the life of Christ to realise that isn't quite correct. For starters, Jesus was crucified because people didn't like what he was saying. People didn't like the way they were being challenged by Jesus. In his ministry, he had the authority figures of the day against him, spreading lies and rumours about him, and ultimately helping in his betrayal and death. Even one of his closest followers helped in his betrayal and death. In the passage just before the one we heard from Mark tonight, Jesus goes into his hometown to preach. And even those people in his hometown reject the message that he has to give them. Jesus knew what it was like to try and face those who cannot see what is happening right in front of their faces. And we find Jesus in a number of places making comparisons to the prophets and what happened to them and what he can see in his future. And he says, what will happen to me is just the same as what has happened to many before me. Now, Jesus sees his own death as one in a long line of similar deaths that come about for telling people what they sometimes don't want to hear. And the story of the death of John the Baptist, which we heard read tonight, is also part of this. Now, John was seen as one of the last of the Old Testament prophets. And I find it interesting that when we read through Mark's Gospel, which if you've never done it and read it cover to cover, it's well worth doing. If you've got a rainy afternoon sometime. And at the beginning, Mark has already told us that John's dead. So why does he need to tell us again what's happened and put in all this extra gruesome detail for us? Now, the answer, I think, is that here, in the midst of all these stories that teach us about discipleship and the ministry of those who follow Jesus, I think it serves to remind us that following Jesus does not put us out of the range of the world's hostilities and violence. It actually might even attract more of it. So what happens to John? What is so bad that causes the death of John? Well, really it was what he said about Herod's activities. Herod had disgracefully dismissed his wife, the daughter of the king of the Nabateans, and had unlawfully married Herodias, his sister-in-law, his brother's wife. And this prompted John to condemn what Herod had done. Now, this is quite a serious thing to condemn a leader of the day. And even back then, to condemn that leader of the day who had absolute power over life and death. It's a very brave thing to do. But the interesting thing here, though, is that who gets the most upset? Here's John saying, Herod, what you have done is wrong. But the person who has a grudge against John and wants to kill him is Herodias, the woman that Herod has just married. Because Herod fears John, which I find quite interesting. Herod, it says there that Herod, he's perplexed by John's message, but he can tell that there's something special that John has in his words and in his message. And it says, and yet he liked to listen to him. But Herodias is furious and wants revenge. And so, like the best of stories, she waits and bides her time until the time is right. So picture it, a royal banquet, a glorious occasion where everyone's invited. All the officials and military commanders are there, and all the leading people and leading lights of Galilee. Everyone who's everyone is there. If this was held today, New Idea would have it all over the front cover. And then in comes Herod's new stepdaughter, who we hear through Josephus, his name is Salome, to dance for the crowd. And she is a big hit. She's fantastic. The crowd love her. And Herod decides to make this grand, big, sweeping gesture so it will look really impressive to everyone who is there. He offers to give his stepdaughter anything she wants, up to half his kingdom. I think this is one of those grand sweeping gestures that you hope no one really takes you up on. But it's just to impress everybody else that's around you. So Salome doesn't quite know what to ask for. I mean, this is a pretty big thing. So she goes and consults with her mother, who realises that this is her chance. And she tells Salome to ask for the head of John the Baptist on a platter.